the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, just Daf It, as we near the end of Maseches Gittin. Today we're doing Maseches Gittin Daf Pei Vav, number 86. We're finishing, I think, on Monday. Maseches Gittin. Let's start at the bottom, Pei Hem with Beis on the bottom. Yesterday we ended off with some of the exact language you write in the get. So part of the language is you write Miyoma Danan. From today, right? You're writing the get. The get is effective from today. Why do you write that? We had an opinion. Rabbi Yossi says if you don't write a tonight when the get takes effect, right? Right? You say the get takes effect at a certain point, and the guy died. He died, so the get didn't have a chance to take effect. We assume they wanted to get take effect retroactively. In fact, they wrote his man in the get. So the fact that Yom Danan from today it takes effect, and not from, right, and not from the time of the writing of the get, shows that we don't hold like Rabbi Yossi. La'olam. Why does it say la'olam? That the get is effective forever. La'afuke midibon minei top of Pevav and Aleph midibon minei Rav Nachman Amar Yom Ishti u'lamachar ad Ishti. We had a question earlier. If you say to your wife, today you're not my wife, but tomorrow you're my wife, is that a valid get or not? The halacha is it happens to be a valid get. Once he severed the bond of marriage, it's severed forever. So therefore, you shouldn't be concerned that maybe if you would say that today you're not my wife, but tomorrow you're my wife, and maybe today she's not my wife, but tomorrow she'll be my wife again. I tell you, no, it severs forever. That's why it says the olam. Gufo shall get shikra areya baschor and areya la'atzmech. It says in the Mishnah, the previous Mishnah, what's the main text of a get shikra when you free an eved? You either write areya baschor, either for a woman you're a baschor, or a man you say ben chor, or areya la'atzmech, you're yourself. Asking Rabbi Yehuda b'shtar, zvini da'avdi. Rabbi Yehuda was misaking. Rabbi Yehuda formulated the shtar when selling avodim, not when you free avodim. You want to sell an eved to somebody else. Avda denan mutztak la'avdo. This eved is always going to be an eved. Opatir va'atir min charure. He's completely exonerated from being free. Umin alule, umin arure, and from any claims. Umin arure malka umalkasa, and no king or queen can claim this eved as their own. Virasham deinish lo is aloi. And there's no badge of slavery of any other man upon this guy. Umenuka mikol mum, umin shchin denafek ad titztar chadav ate. Right? You want to, when you sell an eved, you want to make sure he has no physical blemishes, even boils on his skin, which could prevent him from working well. So you make that part of the stipulation. He has no blemishes, even right boils that would come from today, 2 years, whether they're old or new. Maya susis. The Gemara asks, practical remedy. How do you fix these boils? Amar Abaye, ginbara, ginger, umertica, and some dross of silver, kavirta and sulfur, the chala de chamra, the vinegar of wine, umashcha de zesa, olive oil, the natik chivra, and white naphtha, v'shayfilai begatva de avuza, and you take all these things, you mix them together, and you smear it on the guy's skin, on the boils, with a goose feather. The Mishnah says, Shlosha Gittin Psulin. 3 gets, 3 types of get, we'll see in a second what they are. Psulin, they're puzzle. They're invalid. However, if you use the get, she got this get, which is an invalid get, and she remarried, and she had a child with a second husband, Midoraisa, these Gittin are valid Gittin, so therefore the child is not a mamzer. Kasav Eksavya, what are the 3 cases? Kasav Eksavyado. Either the person wrote the get, the husband wrote the get himself. Ve'en alav edim, there's no edim. Or yesh alav edim, there's 2 edim. Ve'en bo zman, there's no date. You're supposed to write the date. The Rabban institute to write a date in the get. Yesh bo zman, ve'en bo ela eid echad. There is the date, but there's only 1 signature. Harei elu shlosha gittin psulim. They're pasul midrabban. I mean, these are vlad kosher. Since they're kosher midaraisa, if she remarries and has a child with a second husband, it's not considered adultery, and the child is not a mamzer. Rabbi Lezer omer af b'shen alav edim. It says even there's no Eidim. El Shanasna Bifnei Eidim. He gave it to her in front of Eidim kosher. It's kosher l'chachila v'govim and chazim mishubadim. And also by a shtar, dine mamnis, right? Shtar halva. If you lend money, sorry, not a shtar, you lend money in front of witnesses, you have a lien on that person's land, right? The Gemara at the end of Masechet Baba Basra talks about shibuda d'oraisa or not d'oraisa. Basically, can I collect not just from this person, but from anyone who buys property in the interim after this loan was done? He buys property from this person I lent money to. If I can't, he has no money to pay. Can I collect from the property he sold? So yes, according to Elazar, you could if there was Edom. We don't pass on Elazar by halva. I'll explain why in Ian with Ben Sion. She'ena Edom chosmim al get el bnei tikkun ha'olam. Edom are only signing a get because of tikkun ha'olam. Technically, according to Elazar, midaraisa, and really midarabbanan, you don't have to have Edom on the get. The only reason you do that is so that people won't say bad things about the get, but really, technically, like Rabbi Elazar holds, Edom Masira Karsi, right? The Edom, as I explained yesterday, the act of Gerushin is done through, the Gerushin is a Maisa Gerushin done through the act giving in front of the Edom. The Gemara says, V'su leika, there's no other cases where it's pasul midrabbanan, but midraisa it's kosher. Vayika get yashan. What about if you use a get yashan? Get yashan we talked about in one of the previous mishnayos. If you write a get and then you give it, and then before giving it to the woman, you seclude yourself with her. All right. So if you use that get, it's also pasul midrabbanan, but midraisa it's kosher. Whereas hasam lo seitze, there it's different. There, if you got married, right. Besides the fact that the child is not a mamzer, you don't have to leave the marriage. Over here, in these three cases in our Mishnah, you have to leave the marriage. We're going to see it's machlogas on Amud Beis in our Mishnah. Do you have to leave or not? According to the Manamar says teitze, it makes sense. According to the Manamar here, which says lo teitze, you don't have to leave. Ma'ikal meimah. The same case. Why only these three cases? The Gemara says there, if you use the get yashan, she's allowed to get married l'chachila. Here, even if you use the get, if you any of these three pasul gittin, you're not supposed to get remarried with them. But if you do, then you can stay married. Veiga get kireach. We also had the get of a bold get, right, which is basically a get, which is a get makusha, which is folded over, used by kohanim. You're supposed to sign on all the different folds, and you left one space blank. So there, it's also pasul midrabbanan. Then where's hasma vlad mamzer? There actually the vlad is a mamzer. Halcha vlad kosher. Our Mishnah says it's kosher, so it's not included in our Mishnah. Whereas anichal or a mayor, the Amar kol mashan mabesh tivu chalim begittin vlad mamzer. Right. Reb Meir's opinion is that the child is a mamzer. El rabbanan, by get kireach, it's not a mamzer. Ma'ikal meimah. Why is it included in our Mishnah? Hasam teitze. There you have to leave the marriage. Halcha lo seitze. Here you don't have to leave. According to the Mandamar says in our Mishnah you don't have to leave. It makes sense. Our Mishnah also means you have to leave. So whereas Makusha lo kamairi, our Mishnah is not talking about Makusha. Makusha is a weird type of get that it's only used by Kohanim. It's not oftentimes used. So our Mishnah didn't deal with that. Vayika, the Gemara has a third question. Shalom Malchus. We learned in the previous Mishnah if you don't write the reign of the kingdom or the government that you're living in, that also invalidates the Gemara D'Rabbanan. Whereas Hasam Teitze, there you have to leave the marriage. Hachalo Seitze. Hayichal Mandamar Hachalo Seitze. El Mandamar Teitze. According to Mandamar says you have to leave. Ma'ikal Meimah. So the Gemara will skip the parentheses. Mokim Lakar Meir. We'll say there the halacha is like Reb Meir. Reb Meir says if you don't, right, if you're Mashanim and Be'esh Tibucham, you don't write Shalom Malchus, the Vlad is a mamzer. The house of Vlad mamzer, Hacha Vlad kosher. Here in our Mishnah, even Reb Meir would agree the Vlad is a kosher. Whereas the Minyana the Reish Lamute Mai, Minyana the Seif Lamute Mai, it says it 3 times. It says in our Mishnah, right, these 3 gittin are, right, you're not supposed to use, but the Vlad is a kosher. And then it says these 3 gittin again. So why, by saying 3, it's coming to exclude something. So, Minyana the Reish Lamute Hani the Amran. The 3 cases we just mentioned above, which we asked why are they not included in the Mishnah. Right? These 3, as opposed to the other 3, which for whatever reason are not the same halacha as the one in our Mishnah. The Sefer the Mutay had the Sanya, maybe get Medinas Hayam. Bryce we had earlier, you bring a get Medinas Hayam, Nasula. Velo Amar, Befana Nechta, Fani Nechta. You didn't do what Chazal instituted when you bring it from Medinas Hayam. You have to say Fani Nechta, Fani Nechta. You also have a lot of moms there, you have to leave the marriage if you use that get. And if you had a child, the child's a mamzer, according to Meir. Chum say the child's not a mamzer. How do you make it up? If you did use such a get, if you didn't say take it back and give it again. So our Mishnah, right, which seemingly says the Vlad is not a mamzer, would not be like that brisa because they are according to Meir, the Vlad is a mamzer. Kasav ksav yado ein alav edom. Alright, so the first case is in our Mishnah where it's Pasal Midrabanan, Kosher Daraisa. He wrote it in his own handwriting. There's no Eidah. Amarav, Kasav Ksav Yado Shaninu. Our Mishnah is talking about he wrote it in his handwriting, his own handwriting. The husband wrote it himself. Ahaya. Which of the three cases was Rav talking about? Yilema Reisha, the first case. Right, so it says Kasav Ksav Yado. Chita, that's Ksav Yado Kasani. He's not adding anything. Elam Siyasa, it's talking about the middle case, or Yesh Alav Edom. Right, the middle case where there's no Zman, but there's Edom. What does it matter who wrote it? There's Edom. Ela Seifa. Probably the last case. Yesh Bo Zman, Vein Bo El Eidachad. There is Zman, there's only one valid age. What is a Rav is adding, Vidafka, top of Pevon and Beis, Vidafka Ksav Yodo, the aid. So Rav is adding, it has to be that, not just that it has one aid, but also that was handwritten by the husband. Avakas of Sofer, the aid low. But Rav would hold that if the sofer, the scribe wrote the get, and there's only one aid, that would not work. The Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, Afilu ksav sofer, ve'ed. Shmuel held no, not like Rav. Even in the last case in our Mishnah, even if the scribe wrote it and there's one aid, that's also b'diavad it's kosher. Sharish Aninu, Kasav, so we're going to see a Mishnah tomorrow, Pei Zayim and Beis, Kasav Sofer be'ed kosher. Right? If you wrote it, the Sofer wrote it, and the aid signed it, it's kosher. The Rav, right, so the Mishnah says it's 100% it's okay. So how could Rav say it's not okay? But Rav, mi dami, hasam tinase lechatchila. Haka di'evet. So the Gemara says, there, one second. So as follows. So there, tinase lechachila haka di'evet. Right here. It's the Eved. Here it says b'di'evet. There it says you can marry l'chadchila. The Shmuel would say lo kasha. Haba safra the muvah, but haba safra the lo muvah. Shmuel, right? Shmuel has to be cognizant of this discrepancy, right? There, the Mishnah on Pei Zayin Beis, you can marry l'chadchila. Here, it's only b'di'evet, which says that the child is not a mamzer. So he says, because Shmuel says the Mishnah are talking about the same exact case, right? Rav says it's talking about different cases. Here we're talking about where it was the ksav that the husband wrote it with the aid. So now you can marry l'chadchila. If the sofa wrote an aid echad, so then it would only be the Eved. But Shmuel says it's talking about the same case, that even if the scribe wrote it, you can marry l'chadchila. He says no. The case where you can marry l'chadchila, that's safra the muvak, meaning a scribe but that's familiar with the writing process, that for sure was summoned by the husband to write it. However, a scribe which was not necessarily instructed directly by the husband, so therefore we only say with the Eved. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan ksav yado shaninu. Rabbi Yochanan taught like Rav. Our Mishnah was about ksav yado. He wrote Amar le Rabbi Elazar. Elazar said to Rabbi Yochanan, it says there's Edom. Now, what case was Rabbi Yochanan referring to? It must be the middle case. It says there's Edom. Amar le aseifa. It's about the seifa. Right? The case where there's one aid, he's saying it has to be also written by the scribe. Zindan Amar Rav Teitze. Zindan Amar Rav Lo Teitze. Sometimes Rav says in our Mishnah, the halacha is she has to leave the marriage, right? Right. The child is not a mamzer. If she has a child, it's not a mamzer. The child is not a mamzer. But do we force her to leave the marriage? So sometimes Rav says she has to leave in these three cases. And sometimes he said, lo teitze, hake, said, yesh la'abonim, if she had children from the second husband already, lo teitze, because then it looks bad, right? If we make her leave the marriage, people are going to think the children are Zera. Ein la'abonim, teitze. She didn't have children yet, then leave the marriage. Meisiv mar zutra bar tuvya, v'kulan shayu bahen savik kiddushin o savik gerish and reil choltzes v'lamus yavmos. This is a reference to Maseches Yevamos. The first Mishnah there says that if you have an erva falls to Yibam, she is pater from Chalitza and Yibam, and all the co-wives are pater from Chalitza and Yibam. However, let's say the erva, she might have not actually been married to the brother, right? Either she suffix that she was mikudeshes, or she was definitely married, but the suffix was she was gerushin. So therefore, you do chalitza, not yibam. Ketzad. Safek kiddushin. What's safek kiddushin? Zarek lav kiddushin. Safek karav lav. Safek karav lav. The brother, who then proceeded to die, threw it before he died. He threw her kiddushin. Wasn't sure whether it was closer to him or her. That was safek kiddushin. Safek gerushin. Kasa b'ksav yada. What is safek gerushin? Kasa b'ksav yada. He wrote it in his own handwriting. Ve'en alabed. There's no witnesses. Yesh alabed. There are two witnesses. Ve'en bo zman. There's no zman. Yesh bo zman. Ve'en bo el eidechad. Already the safek gerushin. That's considered safek gerushin. V'yamris lo seitze. If you'll tell me, right, the halacha is that if she has children, she should not leave the marriage. Sarasa asya liyabume. Then I'm going to think, right, obviously it was a good get. And the erva never fell to Yibam. And therefore the Sarah is not pater chalitza Yibam. She's going to do Yibam. The Gemara said, the Gemara says, yeah, there's no problem. We're not worried about that. Because technically, at Midaraisa, it is a good get. So she is only Midaraisa for Yibam. It's only a worry D'Rabbanan. We're not going to worry D'Rabbanan because we're worried about something else. We don't want people to call the children Mamzerim. Levi Amar, Levi says, La'olam lo seitze. In the cases in our Mishnah, she should not leave. Our Mishnah, all the cases, if she got married, remarried, not only child on Mamzer, but she doesn't have to leave the marriage. Yochanan said to the children of Rabbi Chalafta from a place called Huna. And this is what your father, Rabbi Chalafta, said. Lo seitze. She should not leave the marriage. That's what our Mishnah means. She doesn't have to leave the second marriage. Kartzis Shem Amir ain't a poselas and mechatas. Kartzis Shem Amir is a bug which drinks from the grain. Ain't a poselas and mechatas. Meaning it's a bug, a fly. It's a type of fly which normally is around like the sheaves of grain. So if it drinks from the mechatas, which is the water of the para aduma, right? The mechatas you make from the ashes of the para aduma. Normally, if an animal or a bird drinks from it, it passels it because some of the water goes back from the mouth back into the mechatas. But this bug drinks it up right away and doesn't go back in. My kartzis, what is the kartzis? Amar Abaye ditfa de bene kife. It's a fly that flies among the sheaves of grain. Meser Rav Daniel Baruch Katina kol ha'ofos poslin v'mechatas chutz min hayona b'mnei shemotzetzets. All the birds passel by mechatas, except for a dove, because a dove basically sips it up. Nothing goes back into the mechatas. The misa nisni chutz min hayona b'kartzis. If a kartzis also doesn't passel, why don't you say a dove and a kartzis? The Gemara answers lo psikole, the gdola lo pasla. A big one, there are certain types of flies that do pasla, certain don't. If it's big, it doesn't. Biktana pasla, a small one does pasla. Ad kama, what's considered big, what's considered small. Amar Yirmei v'tem Yami ad kazayis. Until a kazayis is considered small. If the fly is bigger than a kazayis, a really big fly, then it does not pasla. The water will not drift back into the mechatz if it drinks from it. Lezer omer afal pi. Lezer says, and then the Mishnah, even there's no edim signed in the document, it's valid even the chachila in the get. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Halach Lezer Gittin, Halach Lezer Gittin, which is how we paskin edim Masira Karsi. Kemisak made the Shmuel when he stood in front of Shmuel. Amar After Shtaros, even by dinim amnes, the Halach follows Lezer. Rav Savar, Rav didn't hold like that. Shtaros low. We don't pass because of our shtaros. Hakasani, but the Mishnah says go in chas mishubatim. The Mishnah says by monetary cases that we do say edim Masira work. Lezer Tarte Amar. Lezer said two things. Rav Sarak Basa Bechada, Polygola Bechada. Lezer held Edim Masira works, right? both by Dini Mominus and by Gittin. However, Rav only held like him by Gittin. V'chein Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi Amar Yishub ben Levi Alach Kerelezer by Gittin. Alach Kerelezer by Gittin. Rabbi Yanai Amar Afilu Reach HaGet Ein Bo. Yanai says it's not a get at all. If there's no Eidim written in the get, it doesn't have the scent of a get. We saw even sometimes when a get might not be a valid get to affect Gerushin, sometimes it looks like a get and will the Rabbanan were machmir that if a woman got that get, she cannot marry a Kohen. He says even that we're not worried about here. Rabbi Yanai leis lei de Rabbi he doesn't hold Rabbi Lezer. We hold the Rabbi Lezer. Eidim Asir Kars. Hachi Gamar. The Rabbanan. He meant to say the Rabbanan feel a reha get ein bo. The Rabbanan, which basically are a Meir Shita. Right, it doesn't have. If there's no Eidim there, which Eidi Chasima Karsi, if there's no Eidim, it's it's nothing. Not even reha get. B'chei Amar Yossi Rechanina Amar Yishlagish Halacha Rabbi Lezer begittin. Halacha Rabbi Lezer begittin. Rabbi Yochanan Amar feel a reha get ein bo. Rabbi Yochanan said there's no reha get it. Claim Rabbi Yochanan leis lei de Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Yochanan really not holy Rabbi Lezer. Hachi Gamar. The Rabbanan feel a reha get ein bo. According to the Rabbanan, according to the Meir, it doesn't have a din of reha get. Shalach Rabbi Abba Bar Zav Lamari Bar Mar. Rabbi Zada said to Mari Bar Mar, boy me name Rav Huna. Ask from Rav Huna, Halacha Kerelezer Begittin, Oyin Halacha. Is the Halacha Kerelezer Begittin? We do paskin it is. Adahachi, in the meantime, before they got the chance to ask it, Nach Nafshe, the Rav Huna. Rav Huna died. Amar Lei Rabba Bere, Rabba, the son of Rav Huna, said, Hachi Amar Rabba, this is my father said, Mishmei de Rabba, Halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Halacha follows Kerelezer Begittin, Rabba Seina Bekiyin Bedavar, Halacha Mishum Rabbeinu. Amr. And the rabbis, who are very knowledgeable about these matters, now halacha, even in the name of Rab said this. Amru halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Even in the name of Rab, they said it was the Rab was I guess the Rebbe or Rahuna said the halacha is like Kerelezer Begittin. The Amar of Cham Raguri Amar Rab halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Even the Army, some say what they said to him was v'chavreinu habekim b'dvar halacha. Our friends, our colleagues, who are knowledgeable about this halacha. The Talmidei Rabbeinu, and the students of Rabbeinu, the students of Rav, Mishum Rabbeinu, said in the name of Rabbeinu, Amru halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Amar of Chista, Amar of Cham, Raguri, Amar Rav, halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Mechen ki aser Rav and Amar of Belazar, Amar Rav, halacha Kerelezer Begittin. Said 100 million times, halacha is a Kerelezer Begittin, but we paskin like Rav, I believe that by Dini Mominus, by Halvos, we do not say Eidim Masira Karsi. If it's not written the Chasima of 2 Eidim in the Shtar, there's not Shibud of the rice. We don't say Shibud of the rice. I'll discuss the difference in Gittin and loans. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.